The soft glow of the evening sun stretched across the patio of the Tatum residence, casting long, elegant shadows that danced with the rustling leaves of the garden. Inside, the house held a heavy, expectant silence, broken only by the rhythmic ticking of a grandfather clock in the hallway. Barnaby Jones, a man whose calm demeanor masked a razor-sharp intellect, stood just beyond the periphery of the scene, observing the subtle shifts in the air. He was a man who understood that truth, much like a finely aged wine, required time and patience to breathe before it revealed its true notes. The narrative began with a whisper. Adam Montgomery, a man whose voice was familiar to thousands through his broadcast, stood in the dim light of a private home, his presence an intrusion that felt both calculated and cold. He spoke to a woman, his words dripping with a rehearsed familiarity that suggested a dangerous game. She, fearful and trembling, could only offer the frantic protestations of one caught in a web not of her own spinning. They were two actors on a stage where the script was written in deception, unaware that the audience included the keenest observer of them all. Barnaby Jones, in his characteristic tweed, had spent years navigating the murky waters of human nature. He knew that when someone like Charles Tatum, a titan in the world of industry, was found in a state that suggested an end to his own story, the surface narrative was rarely the whole truth. Mrs. Tatum, a woman whose grief was as genuine as the morning dew, had reached out to him, not because she sought confirmation of a tragedy, but because she felt the impossible pull of a bond that death could not sever. She insisted that her husband, a man of iron will, would not have surrendered to the shadows so easily. The investigation led Barnaby through a labyrinth of power and privilege. He found himself face to face with James Everett Brock, the enigmatic mogul whose empire seemed to be built upon a foundation of shifting sands and hushed conversations. In the towering office that overlooked the sprawling city, the air was thin and sterile, filled with the scent of expensive cigars and the invisible weight of secrets. Barnaby, with a twinkle in his eye that belied his serious intent, played the part of the unassuming visitor, testing the armor of a man who thought himself invincible. He spoke of old times, of luck and fortune, all the while watching for the flicker of a shadow in the mogul's eyes. As the days passed, the threads began to pull together. The investigation was not merely a matter of forensic reports and police bulletins, but a deep exploration into the fragility of ambition. There was the young woman, Hillary, whose heart had been played like a delicate instrument, and the ambitious reporter, Larry, who sought to climb the ladder of success by any means necessary. Each player was caught in a cycle of their own making, a performance of denial and evasion that Barnaby peeled away layer by agonizing layer. He traveled to the quiet corners of the city, visiting the places where the truth felt more at home than in the boardrooms of the powerful. He spoke with the housekeeper, a woman whose simple observations about broken gate latches and misplaced glasses offered the keys to a door that had been firmly locked. It was in these small, overlooked details that Barnaby found his leverage. He knew that the grandest designs of men often crumbled when confronted with the reality of an unlatched gate or a glass that was not where it was supposed to be. The climax of the affair approached with the inevitable tension of a thunderstorm brewing on the horizon. Adam Montgomery, cornered by his own hubris and the machinations of those he deemed his subordinates, found the walls closing in. The secrets he had guarded so fiercely, the memos that could topple empires and destroy legacies, had become the very weight that dragged him down. He had attempted to orchestrate a narrative of suicide to hide the ugliness of an intrusion, but in doing so, he had invited a scrutiny that he could not escape. Barnaby Jones, standing firm against the tide of deceit, watched as the final act unfolded. He did not come with the roar of a storm, but with the quiet inevitability of a new day. In the end, it was not the grand speeches or the influence of the powerful that held sway, but the simple, unvarnished truth. The web of deceit, spun with such meticulous care, had finally snagged its own weaver. As the dust settled and the confusion of the moment gave way to the clarity of justice, Barnaby understood that his role was not just to solve a puzzle, but to restore a sense of balance to a world that had momentarily lost its way. He tipped his hat to the morning, ready for the next mystery, knowing that while the shadows of deception were many, the light of truth, however slow, would always find its way home.